So this session, and it may be that it's a pretty short session. Who knows? We'll see whether we get any questions online, questions from our audience member. But this session is about Drupal Colorado Incorporated. It is a brand new nonprofit that was formed this past year to support the camp and any other events around the camp that we might be involved in. So, for example, meetups, summits, things like that are available. What I would like to start by doing is having the board introduce themselves and just give a little bit of background as to why they wanted to join this part of the project. So I'll start. My name is Matthew Saunders, and I've been involved in the Drupal project for 15 years. I've been involved with this camp since its inception, when it was just a small group of people who decided they were going to get together in Boulder in an office and eat pizza and drink a little beer and talk about Drupal stuff and sort of share things that they were working on. I guess the main incentive for me around being part of the nonprofit is that I've been working with nonprofits pretty much my entire career. One way or another, either working for them or working on boards. And it felt like the camp had reached a moment of maturity where we needed to do things like be able to manage our own bylaws, manage our own money, things like that. I will say that there were several times before in the history of the camp where we tried to become a nonprofit, and it just didn't work out. In any case, so that's my motivation. I was really eager to bring the camp to the next place. I'm going to talk a little bit about the next two people, and then I'll ask Phil to come up, and he can talk about the next person. And then we'll ask John to come up and Celine to come up. So our board vice chair is Chris Coughlin. She has also been involved with Drupal for a very good long time. She and I met originally working for Atten Design Group, which is a well-known and respected local Drupal agency. And on and off, even though we had parted ways in terms of workplaces, we've kept in touch and stayed fast friends. And as we came down this route of deciding that we're going to start this nonprofit, she sort of raised her hand and said, "I've been involved in nonprofits as well, and I'd really like to be part of the team." The third member of the board, who isn't here today, is Lydia Tupin. She's our treasurer. She also I met at Atten Design Group. It seems like there's a theme here that's going on. But Lydia has a ton of experience around finances and dealing with budgets and so on. And it was really through a happy accident that she found out that we were forming the nonprofit, and made the decision that she'd like to. She just up and offered to become our treasurer. Phil, you stay there. Yep. And do this. I'll go up there. Okay.
And let me take my mask off so everyone can hear me. My name is Philip Steer. Man, I've been involved in Drupal for over 10 years now. It is how I learned how to be a developer. I know that might be kind of funny to say, but yeah, I come from a graphic design background, and I started developing at my first agency when the need arose, and we were working in Drupal. So that's how I started. And I came to a meetup just randomly one day and met all these wonderful people from the community. And it really, projected my career and projected my involvement with Drupal. I feel like almost I owe, a lot of my time to Drupal. But also in another regard, I really enjoy, helping out with the community and helping out with the Drupal project. So that's why I was definitely a purveyor for starting the Drupal Colorado Association. And I am very happy to be part of the board here. I am the secretary currently, so I am in charge of taking a lot of notes and keeping all the documents and everything in line. And yeah, the next person on our board is Janice Camacho. She's a board member at large. I forgot to say that I also work for Atten Design Group, so another Atten connection. So does Janice. Janice is a project manager at Atten. She's been at Atten now for, that's a great question, I think it's between 3 and 5 years. And she does awesome work coordinating everything, anything and everything. She's a great coordinator, but she's great at coordinating the projects and keeping everything on time and on budget. Next on the list, I'll hand it over to John.
Hi, my name is John Earhart, and I have been involved in the Drupal community for almost as long as Matthew, I think, and do back-end development, some front-end, and have been involved volunteering for this camp on and off, but I felt like I wanted to have a more formal role, and I was thinking about that right about the same time that Matthew had announced that he was forming this board. So it just seemed like a happy occurrence and seemed like a natural fit. And I've known Matthew for years. So yeah. Celine?
So, hi, I'm I'm Salim. I've been involved with Drupal since 2004, I think, maybe even earlier, since it was Drupal 4. So we were developing sites back then with Drupal. I live here in Colorado, so I figured it'd be a shame if I was not involved in some ways with the Drupal community, and I have to thank Matthew for starting this. He's been I don't know how he does it, but he's taken on so much work and done so much for the community and for setting up this nonprofit. It's just so much work involved in doing that. So I've learned a lot from him in doing this. And I'm just a board member, so I just kind of attend the board meetings, and I watch the folks do their thing. Chris used to run the summits, and she's just incredible, and just wanted to thank her for all her work. Lydia runs the finances, and again, when we were doing the nonprofit, she did a fantastic job putting together and running all the finances for our team. Phil keeps us all organized. Again, just an amazing job. I am just so impressed on how well the team works, and it's sometimes you go into a place and people get to know each other, and it takes a while. This team was, as soon as the board got put together, everyone just knew each other, and it was just working like clockwork. So, and maybe that's because they were all from Atten. Maybe that was the glue there. But anyways, Phil keeps us all organized and does a great job. Janice, and then John. So thank you. But I'm just a board member, just involved with the board, and I hope to be leading some of the summits during the year. So that's it for me. Thank you.
So I'm just going to give a little history, and actually before I do that, Salim, you don't give yourself enough credit. bring so much insight to our meetings, and you're thoughtful about helping us make decisions. And the truth is that a board acts as one, right? No one person can make a nonprofit run. It's critical for any nonprofit to have that group of people that once they've made a decision as a board, move forward as a single unit as that board. And it's normal for boards to have disagreements at times, and they make decisions based on majority rule. But once they've made that decision, everybody moves forward as a single entity, and we couldn't do it without your help as well. So don't sell yourself short. Way back, oh gosh, probably 15 years ago. Like I said, there was a little group of people that got together around a table in an office in Boulder, and we ate pizza, drank beer, and talked about Drupal stuff. And that was the first Drupal camp that we had. We had a second one that very same year, which is unusual, right? Normally Drupal camps happen, once a year or so, but it was more like a meetup at that point rather than a formal camp. But this second camp was done on a campus, college campus here in Colorado, and we got somebody to come over from the United Kingdom, right? So there was only about 25 of us at that point, but we had sort of this international piece of it that occurred, which was kind of made everybody turn their heads and say, "There's something here. There's something special about this community." And the camp at different points in time have been in different places. On this campus, it's been in two different sets of buildings. It was in Boulder at one point. And I think in the future we may try other venues as well, just in terms of providing space that's appropriate for what we're trying to do. So, for example, in this particular camp, because of the number of people that are online versus the number of people that are here in person, it might have been better for us to do it at a place like Galvanize, but we didn't know that. And so we're learning, right? We're trying to figure these things out, and as we go along. I think the next the thing that's going on with the nonprofit at this point is, while it's formally formed and we have our current slate of board members, and we've got a mission, a vision, and we've got values all drafted up. We're now in the sort of space where we're about to go from very generic bylaws to very specific bylaws. And the generic bylaws are just ones that basically come out of a textbook that allow an organization to form to begin with. So if you're interested in these kinds of conversations, all board meetings are open to the public, and we announce them on Slack. We also put an issue up on the Drupal.org issue queue, which will allow you to know when the board meetings are occurring. Typically, they occur once a month, although recently we've been doing them twice a month. So, do either of you have any comments on what I've just said before we move on? No? Okay. So, do any folks here have questions about the nonprofit? Yeah. Come on up closer. I was looking at the meetup. I was just wondering if there's for meetups. Yeah, I think we'd really like to do meetups again in person. It's really, the truth is that COVID caused a whole lot of upheaval And in fact, even just this event, there was an awful lot of conversation and honestly, some hand-wringing about whether we should meet in person or not. And at the end of the day, truthfully, it was, look, the community actually does need some face-to-face time. We've spent way too much time behind computers. Let's make this as safe as we can. Thus, the filter boxes that John put together, that you've seen in all of the rooms, and the choice we made to insist that everybody wear masks unless they're eating and drinking. And there's a whole lot of conversation about that. Is this the right thing to do? You know, the guidelines in Colorado have loosened up so much that is that going to be sort of feeling too constricted? And we decided no, it's not, and it was the right thing to do. So hopefully we'll be able to start doing some meetups face to face again, and hopefully soon. Any other questions? Yeah.
Be able to match people to agencies, shops, and so on. Like, if they're part of giving back to the Colorado,
Yeah.
are you guys able to sort of provide those reaction safety nets for folks?
Sure. So I'm going to repeat the question so it gets into the hop-in, the recording. The question is, does the nonprofit currently provide any kind of matching services, career services for folks, you know, as they find themselves in a situation where they may or may not have or may need people? Currently, we don't. The nonprofits is a baby at this point. However, there is conversation around doing stuff like setting up a local job board, which would allow you to sort of post jobs and find out who have jobs and so on. I don't know when that might happen because there's so much work for us to do as it stands right now to get all of our ducks in a row for the governance of the organization. But I imagine that might be something that we take on in the future. You guys, yeah, Celine, come on. Mike.
Well, you have to answer to this. I've had, you want to come join me?
Get Mike.
I've had questions about from folks on how we can, from agency owners and folks in the management of agencies, on how we can assist them finding developers on the other hand. So I think that would be a great idea to do something like that from our perspective. And then, yeah, no, that's not a bad idea at all. So because there's always supporting role designers and other as well. So so that was one thing that has come up just during this camp. And then the other thing was people were asking what happened to the summits and what are our plans for doing summits, and at the same time, what are our plans for doing meetups. So yeah, if you can talk more about that, that'd be great. So.
And actually, I'm going to take this off because I know that it's the actual consonants don't come through with the mask on. Summits this year, again, because if you recall during the opening session, I talked about how putting on a hybrid event like this, I don't think any of us realized it was going to be like actually putting on two events. And it really came down to what are the core things that are the most important for us right at this moment. And we decided that the trainings and the camp day at this moment were the things that were the most important for us to get done. Now, when we made that decision, we also decided we're going to do summits through the year. So stay tuned. Keep an eye on Drupal Colorado Slack, on on the website, because the website is no longer just a campsite. The website is now a organizational site, which will list the events as they come along. I'm not sure what more to say about meetups because we've already talked about that a little bit. But we do want to bring regular meetups back into the fold. One other thing to just note is none of us are paid, right? And it's basically a seven member board plus some ancillary volunteers who help us directly with the camp. So there's only so much that we can do because we all actually have to do day jobs as well to be able to put food on our table. But the goal definitely is to start to scatter many more different kinds of events through the year. Maybe one of the things we consider doing is adding to one of the events like a job fair type thing. That might be an interesting thing to do. Any other questions? All right. Well, I think if we don't have any other questions, and there don't seem to be any online, let's go ahead and instead of having sort of empty space in terms of sound and so forth, let everybody have a bit of time back, and we'll if you've got questions or concerns, the board is available and is happy to talk to anybody about any concerns that they've got or ideas, or my gosh, if you're interested in being on one of our committees and helping out, that would be absolutely fantastic. Anytime that we can get a little bit of extra help, that would be great. So thank you very. Oh, go ahead. Yep. So we've got right now, for example, the camp committee. That's the main one because that's the main thing that we do. But we would love to get some help with the summits, particularly as we move along. And we also will be forming an advisory committee where we can draw in people with certain kinds of expertise as we need them, and to serve as sort of a training place for future board members. Because at some point or another, the board will sort of cycle. We will have a staggered board composition where people cycle off every year, and we'll need new people to come in and fill in some of those roles. And a great way to start to get a sense of what that job looks like is to be on the advisory committee. Yep.
So if you're interested in doing meetups, then feel free to contact me or anyone else on the board, and we'd like to have you guys involved in running the meetups and organizing some of the meetups and things like that as well, because we need to build up that momentum again. We also need help with the summits as well. So nonprofit summit, higher education, library summit, DevOps summit, and things of that sort. So if you're interested in doing that, contact us, and we'd be happy to work with you. So. Yeah.
All right. Anything that anybody else wants to say before we wrap up? Phil?
No, yeah, I mean, obviously we have a lot in the works, and we're still pretty young as a official organization, but yeah, we're always looking for help, always looking for volunteers. I know personally, I found coming to the Drupal Colorado community just initially was like the biggest step in both my life and my career, but one that I do not forget and do not ever underestimate, because it got me to where I am today. And I'm very thankful for the Colorado community, the Drupal Colorado community. And people like Matthew and John and Salim and everyone else on the board for what they do, and including me. So that's all.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you. Oh, so actually, Irina had a question. Can you talk a little bit more? It didn't come up here. Oh, it did here now. Can you talk a little bit more about putting up two-fold event? Okay, so we actually do have one question, which I'm going to try to answer. Irina, who's one of our external community members, who is involved heavily here pretty regularly, has asked, can you talk a little bit more about putting up a two-fold event, I mean hybrid event? So what I can say is that that when we did our first online event, it really involved setting things up just like you would a regular event venue, except you were setting up your rooms in software instead of in real life, right? And we could deal with all of our scheduling issues and so forth in a single place. When you're dealing with a live event, you're doing all of that work, but physically, and you're setting up your schedule, you know, on the website or something like that. But in this case, we had to do it in both places, which is the reason that it's considerably more involved. And it also, in this case, we needed to figure out how we could actually manage to broadcast. And I don't know what the opposite of broadcast is, but we needed to be able to pull people in from the community, from different parts of the community, and we also needed to be able to broadcast, and we had to figure all that stuff out, so it was just a little bit challenging. Does that answer your question, Irina? Great, thanks. All right, thanks so much, everybody. Appreciate you coming to the this session, and we will talk with you at another time.